I don't think you realize this, Gabbie, but you're scary.
You're a pathological liar.
It's not drama, it's dangerous.
But you shouldn't use your beliefs as a way to shame other individuals into following your way of life. What are you doing?
I owe a lot of people apologies.
I'm sorry if you still feel hurt. I don't feel as bad because God has said that I'm fine.
Forgive me.
I don't think you're interesting or intelligent or creative or artistic. You're a loser.
I'm genuinely, wholeheartedly sorry for what I put you through. It was probably really difficult and traumatizing.
What is it, you manipulative, narcissistic?
Gabbie Hanna has a long history of controversy. For example, when she was trolling, you know, she's got some music coming out, she needs some of that clout, and people were saying, oh my gosh, this looks like mania, and that actually triggered a hypomanic episode in which she posted things like this.
Hey TikTok, hey Gen Z, I got a question for you, because I can't sleep. But I can see, why are you so accepting of the idea of dissociative identity disorder, where little kids decide that they can switch personalities whenever they want, and they all have different names and wear different clothes, and they have their own little room in the house that you built in your mind, and here's how you get to it. I feel like someone else now. Did you fucking meditate and create something with your imagination? It's almost as if you create your own reality. And because you don't have faith in God, and because you didn't just say, God, I'm kind of fucking scared, I believe in you, will you please only allow me to see what you want me to see? Please only allow me to hear the truth.
If this were a possibility, don't you think all trauma-based disorders would not exist? Now let's set aside the fact that this could be deeply triggering because for some, the cause of DID is religious trauma.
Hello.
Hi, is this God? Can I cancel my trauma subscription? Oh, okay, yeah, thank you so much. In my opinion, what she's saying here does not involve the truth in which religion for some people can help you process trauma. This really showcases Gabbie's impulsivity. I mean, sure, DID is not as widely known as anxiety or depressive disorders, but it really takes a quick Google search, especially when talking about such a stigmatized disorder. In case you didn't know, DID is not just switching personalities whenever you want, and you're going like in The Sims and creating this fantasy world in your mind. Individuals with DID develop multiple personalities as a child as a way to cope with overwhelming trauma. Saying that a lack of faith in God causes this disorder really reduces the entire disorder to a lack of will and faith. When you have 7.9 million followers on TikTok, you have a huge responsibility. I mean, this had people questioning if DID was real at all. She was posting hundreds of similar worrying TikToks every day.
Help me! Help me! Wake the up! Help me help us. Heaven, earth, and purgatory, as it was in the beginning, is now, and shall be forever. Heaven and earth. Amen.
People were speculating based on past evidence that she was faking a breakdown to promote her newest music release. Gabbie did reveal that she struggles with bipolar 2 and ADHD, at one point making ADHD her entire personality.
Episode 1, this is hyperactivity. This is ADHD. This is the H in ADHD. I was masking because I have ADHD. Because I have ADHD. And that's how short my attention span is. This is what it's like to live with ADHD. How much it was good for my ADHD. The really shitty part about ADHD.
These claims have not been verified, but it's also not her responsibility to share personal documentation on the internet. She was blaming pretty much anyone you can think of. I mean, what do we got? ADHD, bipolar, edibles, other people. I mean, we love a scapegoat here. And in 2024, she's back. Welcome to the Gabbie Hanna saga, where we will explore her plot twist return to social media. From her erratic behavior for views, to her hiatus and eventual transformation into a born-again Christian, we'll unpack her latest ukulele-less unapology. Is she using religion as a shield, or is this a genuine turning point in her life? So make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get into it.
See, when people say things like invalidate the DID community, I remember saying that I cured DID because I was convinced as that I had DID. Dead ass. I talked to my therapist about it. I talked to family members about it. I really thought I had DID. I would watch back footage of myself and be like, who the is that? Like, I would have different voices, different mannerisms. Like, it was really disorienting to me. And then I would watch back these dissociative episodes where I would literally, and in fact, I have so many of them on camera where I do the thing, like where they say that they're like switching personas, right? So I'm like, holy shit, I have DID. And I'm not saying that anybody else doesn't or that it's not real. And that's what's so frustrating with the internet in general is like these heavy things like you're invalidating DID. I said, I cured DID, ADHD, and OCD. It's so frustrating.
In her first statement, we all just saw Gabbie was saying that DID is something a child decides to have. It makes you want to go back and watch the first video because she is backtracking so hard, claiming that she wasn't invalidating the DID community. She was saying, hey, I mean, I cured myself of my non-existent DID, so why can't you? The shifting of the blame does seem a bit toxic. I mean, influencers in the past have come forward and said it seems like she's remembering things differently to fit her narrative. Behaviors like this are common for Gabbie, in my opinion, where she just completely denies things that there's actual video evidence for. In the past, Gabbie has openly acknowledged that she has sometimes initiated drama or faked situations to gain attention. She literally admitted to adopting the villain role in a BuzzFeed article. I might as well do whatever the I want because guess what? The views are up. You're going to listen to the album because it's about the that you guys want to hear about. You're going to watch my series. You're going to read my book. You're going to obsess over every movie that I do. You're going to pay for my Patreon to see my private content. I finally feel like I'm in control. It's a lot easier to cope with people hating you when you're fanning the flames.
It's always been a battle of the sexes. Literally. And it got to a point where it's like, guys, they're getting confused, literally. You're not transgender.
Am I missing something here? I might be. Are you saying that trans people do not exist because they're confused? Okay, listen, there are so many people out here, influencers, not influencers, who deal with mental illness. The thing is, if you have the ability to apologize after an episode, why wouldn't you? A lot of the times we are doing everything we can so that our mental illness does not affect us or other people, but it becomes problematic when you're literally just blaming things on it.
It's not my problem, I was manic.
Especially when you have 8 million followers. I mean, imagine if you said something to your friend or family member when you're having a mental health crisis or just bad mental health day, and then the day after you're like, okay, you know, listen, I was dealing with mental illness, so I know I hurt your feelings, but too bad. After our break, I mean radio silence from Gabbie Hanna in 2023, she makes a full comeback in 2024. At first glance, it looks like she's traded in the drama for Christian values and is kind of an unrecognizable person. Instead of sticking to her narrative that everyone else was the problem, she even made an apology video to address all the people she's hurt in the past. People even discovered that she is now at the Lawrence County YMCA. She's teaching Zumba classes, ballet body workouts, and stretching and breathing exercises.
Come here. You want to know the real secret to meeting your fitness goals? Cardio? Sure, that's a part of it. Strength? Okay. Also a part of it. Don't make fun of my push-ups. But the real secret, the thing that's going to ensure you meet your goals? Consistency. 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 And you want to know the #1 secret to consistency? Fun. Your workout doesn't have to be boring. It can be as fun as a night out dancing with your friends. And it should be. My name's Gabbie and I'm your new instructor at the Lawrence County YMCA. I can't even tell my thighs are burning because I'm having so much fun and looking so good doing it. Am I dancing or am I swimming my waist? Take part in our 3 new dance-inspired fitness classes. No dance experience required. All fitness levels encouraged. Looking good all starts with feeling good. Come take a class today and thank yourself tomorrow.
A lot of fans were very happy that Gabbie had escaped from this toxic internet carousel, but other people found it a bit ironic. Just a little while ago, she was saying everyone else was the problem. She was terrified that old things would resurface from the past because she has a bad memory. Or maybe she's just done so many problematic and questionable things that it's hard to keep track. But the plot twist unfortunately comes with her new arc of Christianity. She seems to have become a born-again Christian, talking about how this part of her life has been transformative. She says her faith has helped her to become a better person, and she condemns a lot of her past actions. They wonder if she's using religion to deflect from valid criticisms, not about the faith itself, but the way she's used religious beliefs to belittle, control, or put others down. And she does discuss this pipeline that we've seen other creators go through, from problematic to religious.
The controversial creator to Christian pipeline. Let's talk about it. It takes intelligence to recognize patterns. And then it takes more intelligence to recognize what that pattern is displaying, right? So all these creators who get the world in the worst versions of themselves, that version of themselves is exposed. The worldly pleasures are taken from them, and they come back praising God. You know what the Bible says? It says God disciplines his children and he reprimands the ones that he loves. So those of us who are chosen and called by God to follow God, God doesn't let us walk in a way that's going to destroy our soul, because God's number one priority is our soul. He wants all of us to be saved. And God knows that's what I want too. So he answers that prayer. When he sees his children going down the wrong way, he slaps their hand. He takes away something, he grounds them, he punishes them, he puts them through trials and tribulations. He takes away what the enemy gave us. Because all of that success that I had, that wasn't God rewarding me because I was not being godly. That was God allowing Satan to tempt me. And then I'm taking the temptation and being rewarded for that temptation. And then the rest was the result of giving into Satan's temptation. So when you see creators who get so much money and power and influence and access to anything they want, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it may be, and then they have some type of downfall and come back praising God, it's because they now have the fear of God instilled in them. They have the love of God that comes from the fear of God instilled in them, and they realize the only reason we're still living and breathing is because of the power and grace and forgiveness and mercy of God himself. Jesus died for me, and so I owe him my whole life. Why would I ever waste the gifts that he gave me? No way, dude. Nah.
Whether you are religious or not, you might agree that things like pride, greed, lust, and envy can lead to some bad decisions. And of course, hopefully we can learn and grow from them. But a lot of people feel like she's using religion to shield and deflect from very valid criticisms and not take accountability. Religion absolutely can be such a beautiful thing, but on the flip side, it can also be used to justify harmful behaviors, manipulate, or control others. It is one thing to find faith, but it's also another to use it as an excuse to harm or judge people. Religion should help people grow, not give them a free pass to offend or appraise others.
I've been seeing these ads for these sticky boobs, and honestly, they look amazing. I might buy me some. But in seeing all these ads, I'm seeing a lot of women's boobs, a lot of them teenagers on TikTok. Like, boobs, bro. Like scooping your boobs, like placing the cup, pushing your boobs up together, nipple piercing. And it got me thinking about like sexual liberation and like women's desire to like show their bodies in public so that they're not oppressed, right? And I saw somebody comment, it was one specifically about a nipple piercing, and the girl was like, am I the only person who has no shame in people seeing my nipple piercing? And the girl's like, no, I don't have shame either, but sometimes I want to cover my nipple piercing. Ooh, controversial. It's okay to feel shame. Let's bring back shame. Because here's the thing, is it's literally not all about us. It's not all about us. Like, if I want to go out and I have like half naked because it's about me, like I want to feel good, like whatever, I worked for my body, I want to show off, nobody's gonna shame me into covering up. I wish more people would have shamed me into covering up, and there have been a couple of people who shamed me into covering up, and now I cover up more. I'm not a prude. I still wear shorts, tank tops, bodysuits, but like when it comes to how much boob am I willing to show in public, that really changed because I was like, oh, there's children. Yep, there's children. And especially when you're on the internet, there's children. And it's like, bro, like, even though I don't have an audience of children, it's like walking in public half naked, right? And it's like, hey, there's children. Like, not everybody needs to see your ass crack. Not everybody needs to see the borderline of your nipple or your nipple. Like, it's okay to cover up and dress decently for the sake of other people's children. And yes, like, for the sake of other people's husbands too, right? Where it's like, well, if that's somebody's husband and their eyes are wandering, it's okay to just be respectful.
The husband comment is actually wild to me. No woman should feel like she has to cover up because of a man who's in a relationship who acts like he's never seen skin before. If you want to wear more conservative clothing, I don't understand how that pertains to me in any way. The same way a woman wearing less clothing should pertain to you. This is all my opinion, a very controversial subject. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But shaming others into wearing certain things based on your religion is where I draw the line. I just want to make sure I'm following you here. So you can't wear too much, but you also cannot be a prude? It's totally fine to wear booty shorts, you guys, but showing cleavage is unacceptable. What is the cutoff here? I mean, does God have like a tape measurer he uses and he's like, I'm sorry, it is 1 millimeter too short, my child? Gabbie's saying we need to protect children, which absolutely valid. It is hard to take seriously though when you're groping your breast on camera. Kids might not notice if you're wearing a crop top or a full length top, but they might notice if you're groping your breast on camera. And if you're anything like me and your parents never discussed this topic even when it became age appropriate, you might become emotionally and sexually stunted. If we are to suggest that covering up is respectful to other people's husbands, it kind of implies that we are responsible for how other people react, which is it's just not great behavior. It's like, you know,
I'm sorry I yelled at you, but you provoked me and made me angry.
This veers into victim blaming territory and reinforces old, outdated patriarchal expectations. Let's do it, y'all. Let's bring back the shame. Let's resurrect the historical idea that shame is a tool for controlling and oppressing women. Do not forget, especially regarding their bodies. I think most of us might be able to agree that children being exposed to sexual content online is a huge problem. But in my opinion, it is TikTok's job, or any platform, to regulate age-appropriate content. I mean, if there is content that's a little bit, you know, sexual, I don't understand why TikTok can't, like, see, this child is 14 years old. I will not recommend this video to them. I understand that there are so many parents out there that might not realize what their children are consuming. I also, at the same time, don't think it's the woman's job to parent your child. I don't think I'm being crazily fantastical here when I say I would prefer to be in a relationship where I don't have to worry about my man looking at a woman as she walks by, depending on what she's wearing. Maybe it's time to take a look at the creeps and why they grew up to become said creep, rather than blaming the people being creeped on.
And that's something that I've been like learning as I'm like growing up. And it's like, this is growing up, is learning that it's okay to just be respectful and mindful of other people's space, property, relationships. And that does mean flaunting your body in front of other people's husbands. Because here's the thing, we know that people have sexual urges. We know that people have a low sense of self-control. We know that. So why do we have to make it harder for everybody else? It goes for the gym too. Like, I remember there was this video of this guy being like, girls, like, please stop dressing naked in the gym because I want to go work out and I'm not comfortable being around mostly naked women. And everybody's like, sexist, men can't control ourselves, this is why we have to be afraid of men. No, bro, like, he's straight up telling you, like, I'm uncomfortable. Like, if a woman comes into a gym completely almost naked, right? I have my little sports bra, I have my little shorts that are pulled up and they're literally in my ass crack now because that's the style, because I like the way it looks when my shorts are in my ass crack, and I pull them up before I squat because I want people to see my body. Like, you are being disrespectful, because personally as a woman, I do not want a man coming into my space naked with his bulge out. No, this is just what makes me feel comfortable. It's easier for me to move without all this fabric. Like, no, like, have respect for me to not put your my face at the gym. Thank you so much for covering up your bulge. Like, I don't want to see your. And as women, I feel like we have to have that same type of respect for other women, for men, and for ourselves to just be like, okay, it's okay. I don't have to show off all the time.
The man being uncomfortable with what the woman is wearing at the gym comes off as a bit sexist and controlling just because of this long history of men policing what women should wear. I'm not here for the double standard. If a man is uncomfortable by what a woman's wearing, that's valid, and vice versa. And if you're still working through this stuff and you're like on a treadmill or something and she's right in front of you, are there not like other treadmills around? Like, don't gyms have like multiple workout equipment? The gym has dress code guidelines, and him being uncomfortable doesn't entitle him to ask her to change her behavior. You might be thinking, hey, Michelle, but being aware of how we dress is just a way of creating a respectful environment, and I would like to hear your opinions below too.
I'm speaking to myself, right? Like, I'm such a show off. I've always loved showing off. It's my least favorite trait about myself. It's pride too, right? It's pride, it's insecurity. Like, look at me, like everything that you think is bad and you hate about me, like instead pay attention to this good thing about me. I get showing off. And that's why I'm just like sharing this part of, I guess, just a transformation where I feel differently and I see things differently, where it's like, we don't have to feel like we're being attacked when people are like, cover up a little bit. And it's not even attractive. Like, that's something that like my eyes have been open to, is like when older women would be like, oh my gosh, like these girls with their short shorts and like their boobs out. I'm like, I don't get it. Now that I'm like 33, I'm like, it looks so trashy to have your boobs out like that. Like, you can have just like natural kind of like resting boobs. Like, I'm not saying wear up to here, like go ahead, wear your low top, like wear whatever. But like, if you're wearing that low top, do you need to take your boob, stuff it, fill it, and push it? I'm not trying to shame or hate anybody. I just like felt like sharing that because I've seen so many boobs on my timeline this morning. And like, I'm just imagining being like a 14-year-old boy, like scrolling on TikTok, and like, I'm trying to get to school and I'm like, I got a problem now because I'm like completely like aroused as a teenage boy going, like, this sounds so crazy.
Gabbie said that showing off your body is like a sign of pride and insecurity. But I don't understand, like, are you projecting onto every other woman out there who might dress the same way? I don't think it's a particularly great idea to put others down based on past decisions you've made. Placing this burden on women to dress in a way that prevents arousal in men reinforces this stereotype that men can't control themselves. But you, Gabbie, are the best because of your growth, and people doing things that you used to do are degenerate and trashy. And unfortunately, people like me, feel uncomfortable wearing anything revealing because of these like stereotypes and things that may or may not be true. I do have to admit, when I was a kid, I grew up in a pretty religious household. I went to church every week. I went to vacation Bible camp, religious ed once a week. Kids in religious ed used to make fun of me for not believing in God because my dad was an atheist and my mom and grandma were very religious, so like conflicting views for a child. I actually remember my dad telling me at the age of like, it must have been like 7, that when you die, and like all peace and love, that there's just nothing. And I remember being like, okay, so it's like you're sitting in a chair, for the rest of eternity in darkness. And he's like, well, yeah, but it's like a step up from that. It's like, there's just nothing after you die. Very big existential crisis from a young age. I was afraid of death at age 7. Anyways, I also had like friends who were a part of a different religion whose parents would essentially tell me that I'm a bad person for not believing in their God. But in my opinion, you don't need to be part of any sort of specific religious group to be a good person. As long as you have things like empathy, integrity, generosity, and respect for others. So many people can find peace in religion, but like shoving it down other people's throats can perpetuate harmful stereotypes about religion in general. That's why AA has a quote, "We do not promote or coerce others into the program. We simply share our experiences and let them decide for themselves." That brings us on to another recent remark from Gabbie, where she reduces a tragic death of a mukbanger from overeating to a sin.
She lost her life on a live stream, a 10-hour-long live stream on July.
So sin isn't this thing that's meant to hold us down and keep us from having fun. It's something that's actually meant to protect us when we avoid those things. It's a list of do's and do nots for the body, the vessel, the robot flesh suit that we're wearing for our soul. So the creator of our robot flesh suit set the rules, and he was like, here's how to keep your body running, here's how to change your oil, here's how to put the right stuff inside of you. So gluttony, for example, is a sin. It leads to so much bad. Like, it leads to death, disease, discomfort, a lower standard of living. It's just all around not comfortable to engage in gluttony. And I know this because I'm 30 pounds up. Well, actually now I'm only 20 pounds up because I lost 10 pounds. I feel better just losing that 10 pounds. My pain is lower. I can breathe better. My skin is better because I stopped engaging in gluttony and sloth, which is another sin. Laziness is a sin. Lust, where people are like, no, like sexual liberation. But when you look at in a context that's outside of the context that it was designed for, unplanned pregnancies, which leads to abortion, STDs, heartbreak, soul ties, right? Envy. Like, envy is a sin. It's something that makes us unhappy and discontent with what we have and scars our relationship between other people. Wrath is kind of like obvious. Like, nobody wants to be around a wrathful person and nobody wants to be a wrathful person. And when it comes to vanity, it's like a really slippery slope. And as somebody who was doing just so much stuff to my face and caring so much about my body outside of a health context, but the way that people looked at me, I became so insecure through my vanity when what I was doing was trying to get people to think I was beautiful, and it had the opposite effect.
I feel like Gabbie's response reduces the fact of overeating to a moral failing. If we are to completely follow the word of God, what about Romans 14:10, which states, "You then, why do you judge your brother or sister? Why do you treat them with contempt? For we will all stand before God's judgment seat." To get an idea of her mindset and see if her actions are actually justified, let's take a look at the apology she uploaded on September 11th, 2024. The video is titled "A Long Overdue Apology," and I feel like a lot of people who've seen Gabbie's past behavior were like rubbing their eyes and they're like, wait, like, is this real? Like, you know, Gabbie at 35 years old is like, she's actually going to apologize? But if you know Gabbie, you might be able to anticipate some sort of manipulation, since a straightforward apology is very uncharacteristic of Gabbie. So at first, she's describing her difficulty in working with others.
I feel like I owe a lot of people apologies. Okay, so the first bunch of people that I'd like to say thank you and I'm sorry to is anyone I've ever worked with, from collaborators, producers, management, agents, anyone from PA on set to director, special. I was difficult to work with.
She acknowledges that she's been difficult to work with in the past, and like, okay, listen, understanding that like you were wrong is a huge thing and part of growth. But in the past, if you don't know, she was on a YouTube Originals show called Escape the Night, and basically in her video, it sounded like her experience was basically just horrible. There was an unrealistic schedule, bad call times, you know, a costume that didn't fit, jewelry that gave her an allergic reaction.
I laid it out pretty clearly. In each meal, I need a protein, a carb, and a vegetable. I sent specific meals just so there was no like question, and I was promised that that would happen. That was important to me. I also brought up that I was extremely uncomfortable the first season. My dress was very restrictive. I couldn't lift my arms. Like, that gives me severe anxiety. Like, are you allergic to any metals? When I was getting this costume, and I was like, I'm highly allergic to pretty much all metal except for like sterling silver, white gold. First day right off the bat, I'm wearing all of this fake, huge, chunky jewelry that did break me out in very like painful, itchy hives. By the end of the first day, I'm like, okay, there's literally no healthy food. There was like a taco on a flour tortilla with cheese. I like pulled Daniel aside and I was like, I understand it's the first day, but like,
please make sure that there's like the proper food tomorrow. But it was the last day. And don't get me wrong, I was like bitching the whole time.
That honestly sounds so horrible. I mean, you would understand maybe why someone would be difficult to work with if you're going through all of these problems. But then Joey Graceffa, Daniel Prada, even Rosanna Panzino, all these people who are completely unproblematic who were also on the show made videos. They basically said she was incredibly rude. She didn't fill out her requests or paperwork before coming to set. So that's why these specific foods that you needed weren't there. I'm sorry that they unfortunately haven't invented telepathy yet and were able to read your mind and accommodate for your, personal struggles. Best of all, she called a production assistant a dumb cunt.
I'm gonna go over some of the points that she made in her video that are just completely false and give you guys the receipts to back that up. You, who's also my friend, is making life on set a living hell by being disrespectful and rude and mean and foul to not only cast, but crew, screaming at the director, demanding things, and calling a production assistant a dumb cunt is not how you act on set of one of your friends, not even just your friend, any set. You also claim that ADHD is the biggest reason that you acted the way you did on set. But just so you know, half the cast had ADHD and did not act in the way that you did. So I'm sorry, but that is not an excuse. Then you go into your eating disorder and the whole food situation. Every single person is sent a form days before we start filming to get people's medical information and their allergies and any food restrictions. Gabbie didn't fill this out until the day we were on set. Miss Gabbie, can we do a little BTS moment? How is she? Look at, she's got her yellow hair on.
We're doing
She's practicing her script.
filling out my medical information.
You're supposed to fill this out beforehand so we can get everything prepared and make sure that we have your dietary restrictions accounted for. So I don't understand how you expect things to be done for you when you don't do the work yourself. And I also would like to just take a minute to defend Daniel, who literally went above and beyond for not only you, but everybody else on set. He had a million things going on, and yet he still managed to have the time to go to Whole Foods and get you your 3 healthy meals that were so specific of like exactly what you needed, and yet you still didn't even eat them. You literally just left them out to rot. So what was it that you were actually trying to do, Gabbie? Was it that you actually needed the healthy meals, or were you just trying to be difficult? Because I think you were just trying to be difficult and throw around some power.
At one point, Gabbie completely refused to show up because she had an appointment with her gym trainer. And as a result, a makeup artist who has nothing to do with this had to step up and pretend to be her for promo photos.
You didn't respect the team enough to make those appointments, therefore, yeah, your outfit was a bit ill-fitting. Maybe it was a little tight, but guess what, sweetheart? That's your fault. If the necklace was causing irritation, which you're saying you're only allowed to wear sterling silver, the piece was sterling silver. So I'm very confused as to how you have pus and warts and growths or whatever all along your body. Nobody forced you to wear the necklace. The first time you had an irritation, you could have ripped the necklace off and thrown it into the woods and say, oops, I lost it. Hello? Or just tell wardrobe, this isn't working for me, I'm gonna need to take it off. Nobody forces anybody to wear anything. This is not that type of production. Here are some clips of the trailer and the first day.
Here it is. There's a kitchen, living room, little vanity area there in the back. And over here is a bedroom. There's a shower if you want to take a shower. Bedroom here, and a toilet. There's a bunch of candy here in case you have a sweet tooth. There's some fruit and vegetables, some little energy supplements, seaweed snacks. These are like more healthy snacks here. And then in the fridge, I'll give you the tea on what people asked for. So we have water, Red Bull, energy drinks, kombucha.
Sweetie, that trailer is stunning. Healthy foods, there's also some junk foods if you have a sweet tooth. There's green juices, there's water, there's fresh fruit, there's fresh vegetables. There were ice pops in the freezer. There were almonds, seaweed snacks, healthy snacks, Cheez-Its, everything.
But okay, like I can completely understand kind of her perspective, where it's like, in the past, I have been wrong about something, and I maintained thinking I was right for months after, only to realize that, oh, I was wrong, and it's just a horrible feeling to be like, I'm the bad guy. It is a sign of growth, mistakes, and apologizing. It helps us to become better people. Let's move on.
If I forgot someone, forgive me. Like, I look back at so many situations and I just feel embarrassed and I feel shame, but then I remember there is no condemnation or shame in Christ, and that I've been wiped clean and Jesus forgives me, and I can hope that you guys forgive me, but I can't force that. So if there's a question on whether or not we have beef, we absolutely do not on my end anyways. I love literally everyone. I love you all, even when it hurts, even when it's hard. I love everyone. I forgive everybody because my God, Jesus Christ, loved me and forgave me when I did not deserve it and before I even asked. So
some fundamentalist Christians might adopt the notion that they can block out their past because they are a new person. This belief provides comfort for you. God forgives me, but that doesn't really help the people that you've hurt. Because if God forgives you, does that absolve your need to reach out to everyone who you have wronged?
No regrets. I learned a lot. And everything is just tuition at God University, time spent at God University, lessons learned. But I'm so sorry for all of the just poor behavior, reckless behavior, self-centered, vain, prideful, just meaningless content.
Just a quick side note, absolutely not every Christian, Catholic, fundamentalist Christian might think this way. This is a very specific category. And she just keeps laughing during her apology, which just in my opinion, it looks like a lack of sincerity.
I wrote some notes. I have a list. I took a lot of opportunities that I didn't deserve and also had no business doing. Literally reading my notes, I was selfish, only cared about how I could benefit. Thank you. And I'm sorry. I got my lick back.
If my friend was apologizing to me, I mean, it depends on my face. You know, like if I'm laughing with you, like, oh yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. It would be like fine if they're laughing as well. But if I'm like stone-faced and they're laughing, that would be a little bit offensive to me. But the thing is with Gabbie is you can't see your audience or their face. And, you know, a lot of your audience is probably going to have a different opinion. So laughing just is not in great taste for me.
I also want to say a special I'm sorry to any of my patrons on Patreon. Just so inconsistent. Like, yeah, I got to do better. I know I've been saying that for so long, which is the problem. Like, I'm trying. Like, I need help, like something to make it so that I can be consistent, because I don't have the greatest executive functioning. In fact, I have impaired executive functioning. I also want to take this time to say I'm sorry to my family, or just in general people at home who feel like I either capitalized on, you know, shared experiences that shouldn't have been shared so freely, or just projecting anything that I was feeling onto you. I feel like I do that in general, but I think with my family, I've done that a lot.
She admits to projecting her issues onto others in the past, but is this genuine, considering now you're just saying I'm so much better than other people because I dress conservatively and such? And within the video, she doesn't really say what steps she's going to take to make amends with the people she's hurt.
I'm sorry. Again, I got my lick back, and this was a big lesson for me in general, about speaking about somebody when they're not in the room in a negative way, or in a way that is overstepping personal boundaries. So I genuinely have learned and grown in that area a lot, and am still to this day. It's really hard not to
A typical apology generally includes a few key elements: acknowledging the mistake, expressing regret, taking responsibility, explaining if that's necessary, making amends, asking for forgiveness, and most importantly, following through. However, it does seem kind of like she's just glossing over some of these aspects.
By scale, anybody that I've ever told a story about and shown a negative light on, I definitely have felt the weight of that. And God humbled me and taught me empathy in that area. So I'm genuinely, wholeheartedly sorry for what I put you through. It was probably really, really difficult and traumatizing. So I feel you, and I'm sorry. Behold our God seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him.
A lot of the comments have a disappointment and skepticism towards her apology. It's giving, my pastor told me I need to make amends to make it into heaven, so here I am doing the bare minimum. This is the most non-apology video I have ever seen. Don't bother saying you're sorry when you can't even directly say what you're sorry for, let alone name anybody who you are apologizing to. Stop telling people to admit their sins when you don't even admit your own. This video was the equivalent of saying, dang, I'm sorry guys, in a group chat, then slamming your laptop closed and ignoring everyone. This is not how a grown adult apologizes. What are you sorry for? Who are you saying sorry to? What behaviors are you referring to? This is performative, insincere, and just as vague as any other apology she's offered. Gabbie's intentions might be good, but I'm kind of leaning towards more agreeing with some of these comments just because of a comment she made just a few months ago. She actually did a talk at Oxford University where she highly hints at Rachel Oates and describes her as a loser.
How did you feel about kind of the reaction to the book? Obviously some people like loved it, and then also there was some people didn't like it. And was that kind of hard when it must be a very personal thing, right, to put poetry out? Some of it was quite personal, right?
Yeah, the thing with me with that was just like the first 2 or 3 years it was out, like everybody was just like really digging it and it was fine, but then it just kind of became trendy to use my name, and then like one girl went viral who like, the actual critiques don't bother me that much because like, this is gonna sound so bitchy, but whatever, like you have to be careful who you take your opinion from. Like you can say like you don't like my book, or you can like critique my literary style or whatever it is, but like I don't think you're interesting or intelligent or creative or artistic. So why the hell would I take your opinion? You're a loser. Sorry, like your opinion's nothing to me.
Basically, this lore goes back very far. I mean, maybe not lore because it was actually quite traumatic for Rachel. Gabbie has written multiple poetry books, and you know, she sent her book over to Rachel for her to review. Rachel provided a fair review, comparing it to other poets who she feels portrayed it better.
The first poem we're going to start with from Gabbie is very simplistic, which in itself is by no means a bad thing. Think of the short story that was supposed to be like a challenge to write like the saddest or scariest story ever written, and it's just simply for sale, baby shoes, never worn. 6 words, heartbreaking. Gabbie's poem is simple. It's basic. It's also an example of her trying out a little wordplay, which I really appreciate, but sadly, it just kind of falls flat. It's nice to see that she's attempting something, but the execution is just not quite there. But let's take a look at it. Time is relative. Beauty is relative. Family is relatives. Yeah, this is an example of Gabbie taking an interesting idea, playing kind of with homographs and homonyms and homophones, in this case homographs, taking that, the idea of playing with it, but never really developing it, never really going any further with it, never really pushing any ideas. Concealer. I wear makeup because I have acne. I have acne because I wear makeup. I swear Gabbie Hanna is the only person in the world who could, to such an extent, with 2 dull, unoriginal lines, spread so much misinformation about makeup and manage to perpetuate shallow stereotypes about women. 2 lines, and she causes so much trouble. How does she do it? It's a skill. I know that Gabbie said she was inspired by Bo Burnham in this poetry book, and you can definitely see this in this line. I say line, it's 2 lines long. In this poem, this is not a whole poem. God, I'm really bitter today.
She pointed out that poetry is absolutely subjective. To one person, it might be a masterpiece. To another person, it might be, you know, not that great.
Poetry is completely subjective. While we can analyze it and say this is a good poem, this is a bad poem, they're kind of only from kind of technical perspectives. What you like and don't like is completely up to you, and there's no right and wrong there at all.
But instead of taking the critique, Gabbie went online calling Rachel Oates toxic, abusive, and narcissistic. Even though I believe Gabbie literally said the poetry book was rushed.
Rachel, instead of hopping in my DMs trying to bully and gaslight me from your own abuse, you could just apologize. I know that if I did anything like this, I would be called manipulative, sociopathic, narcissistic, attention hungry, money hungry, but that is who you are. What you did was bully and harass me for months, and then when you got called out of it, got super defensive. Like, you literally just ran away and blocked me instead of looking at your own criticism. You can't take criticism towards yourself at all. I've still never blocked you after all of the harassment. You can't stand even the tiniest ounce of criticism. You're a monster. You're a bitch. Where the real narcissism comes in is she says I'm talking about her for attention. You mean Miss 4K views on your fucking makeup tutorial? Miss 4K views on your commentary piece a week ago? Yeah, I just I'm talking about you for attention. You talk about me, you get millions. I talk about you, I get still millions, but not because of you. Get your ass to the store, buy both my fucking books. You can get them online too. They're fucking really fucking good. They're really reminiscent of Bo Burnham. They're inspired by him and Shel Silverstein and others, so.
She said the poetry book was basically inspired by other poets like Shel Silverstein, and so if you're calling her poetry bad, you're basically saying that Shel Silverstein's poetry is bad? And that just makes me question, why did you send the book to Rachel in the first place if you don't think she's talented or will give you a fair review? If you had sent the book to Rachel and she absolutely praised it, would you be saying the same things, like she's not talented and she shouldn't be reviewing books anyway? I know she said my book is good, but it doesn't even matter because she's not talented. My biggest question is, what do you think about Gabbie's comeback? I mean, part of me wants to believe she actually believes this is genuine. I mean, maybe her apology wasn't very good because maybe she's just not used to apologizing. But at the same time, you're kind of still judging other people and having this controversial behavior, but now it's just disguised with this whole Christianity thing. I do have to say, if you follow any sort of religion, I'm definitely not going to take my opinion of religion based on how Gabbie is handling it, because a lot of it, like we could see, goes against the word of God. I believe that religion is beautiful and it can be used incorrectly, but for the majority of us, we're using it for the best. Anyways, I'm really curious what you guys think about this one. I really hope I didn't offend anyone. That's basically just the conclusion. And it's also important for others to walk away realizing that religion is not always presented the way that Gabbie is presenting it. So anyways, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, turn the bell on if you're feeling risky, and comment below. Thank you so much. It does help with the algorithm. And thank you so much to each and every one of my members for supporting my efforts on this channel. It does mean the absolute world to me. But to everyone, I hope you have a good day, night, whatever the case may be, and peace out.